I call the meeting of the Lewis Board of Public Works Finance Committee, August 3, 2026 at 10:04. Welcome, everybody. Welcome. And roll call. I'm here. Bob Heffernan is here. Robin Davis, Kimberly Earlier, Khalil Saliba here. Mike Hogan is online. Calvin Faber is here. And Carolyn Jones is here. And we have a quorum. Yep. And the first agenda item is number 3, review of minutes of 6/22/26.
I don't have any.
I don't see.
The things I saw were related to some documents that we're going to review and accomplishments that were promised that have been satisfied. So you have a motion to
I make a motion to approve.
second? Okay. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. It's 2 ayes. All against?
Yep.
3 ayes?
Yep.
I know I said aye.
I'm not voting.
Thank
Just,
Nothing.
no, on number 6 here, not topics. Do we have a schedule for these items to be presented here? So discussion future agenda topics. Is there a schedule for these things?
No.
Like,
They're kind of an FYI, aren't they?
or
Things
you-
coming up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for example, the third party for water works.
You're looking at last,
Item number 6. I just want to know if there's a schedule for these items or says discussion of potential future agenda topics.
Just for discussion. Okay. That's how I did it.
okay. Presentation of first quarter financials and updated projections, plus the Q1 updates.
Okay. So you have the table of contents and the actual workbook all included. For 4A, my notes are included in 4B, and I did misname them when I sent them out, so sorry about that.
All right.
Overall, on page 2, we are projected to have less cash coming in. The usage for all utilities have been down across the board. There should be less capital investments and debt, but they balance out each other for lines 10 and 15. Those changes pretty much balance out each other. So it's mostly coming from that operating.
How much is less cap?
About 200,000 out of 3 million. About 3.2 million to 3 million.
And are these differences trending?
For the first quarter, yes.
How about from first quarter a year ago? That's
The
even
usage
relevant.
per household has pretty much stayed consistent, gone down a little bit, up a little bit. But I was considering that as the new development. But there might be more to it, maybe the solar, because we have been getting more solar applications. So that needs to be reviewed more.
Okay.
Yeah. And I am curious to see what this billing coming out this week looks like, because it's been so dry for water. And but
Well, that just means you
Yeah.
don't mow. You don't mow.
yeah.
I'm also curious to see if a reduction in the next time in short-term, there's been anecdotally a reduction in short-term rentals. People coming in. So I'm wondering if that has anything to do with the decrease in
There's
usage.
been a reduction in short.
I mean, I don't think appreciably,
Uh-huh.
but there's been some, yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I think so.
I can work on
I
that.
agree. I
Yeah.
agree with
Yeah, that makes
that
sense.
price.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Do you know who in the city I can contact for?
Nobody in the city, it was just, I mean, well, you know what, you actually could contact,
Would it be Susan for finance?
yeah, Susan, probably the best person because they have a listing of all the licenses for short-term rentals. I don't think that's probably gone down, but I think the bookings have gone down, is what I hear from realtors. And I just see it also where I live, just anecdotally. I mean, used to be a lot more people renting, and I see homes that are empty.
It's
2-3
funny you should
weeks
mention that because I noticed, I think to myself when I went out yesterday and the other day, I said, there's less people.
Yeah.
And this
Would it
is
be
what-
appropriate to reach out to a couple of the large realtors like Leanne Wilkins, PenFed, and Lingo that do a lot of the short-term rentals?
I can do that. I'm happy to do that.
I think Khalil is right, but I think that they don't really get numbers. The city doesn't get numbers till the end of the year, till January or so.
It's true.
But I think at least if we need to know, just to get a heads up, I mean, I'm sure that they're not happy about it probably, but bookings are probably down.
We'll do the check of last
Yeah.
year, this year.
Yeah.
Do that, have somebody do
Yep.
that.
Does BPW at all have to identify these properties?
No.
And how many short-term rentals are we talking about?
500 licenses, roughly, maybe a little, I mean, there's less, but roughly around that number.
There was a
Out of-
statement.
Out of
It's
what,
over
out of about
10%.
3,000?
Statement.
That's a property. 1,500?
We have about 4,000 electric meters.
4,000, so.
It's in town and out town.
There was
Electric is all in town.
a statement at the finance committee
So less than.
of the city that a third of the houses are rented, short or long term.
Oh, that would seem a lot to me, but
Yeah.
I'll check, but yeah. But Adrian
Yeah,
Gallagher
yeah.
runs the rental for Leanne Wilkinson's group. I talked to her, so I can ask her.
We're talking about meters, right? So city versus this property outside the city too.
For water. For water. For electric, the 4,000 would be all in city.
Does it
Yeah,
make
that's
sense to
good.
identify those and put them in the database?
Okay, so financially
For
then,
whatever reason.
these things are likely to continue if it's the seasonal part of it. It's likely to continue
Rural.
into September, the next quarter. So what do you have in the projection here? You just updated for what happened in the first quarter. So presumably we could have a second quarter adjustment like that.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So you haven't adjusted the year beyond what happened in the first quarter.
Yes, so,
We just have to wait and see.
so
No,
there are,
I'm not
What does this have, any-
No,
forecasting.
I understand.
does this have any potential implications for the pipes that we're going to be replacing in the ground? Or not? Water, it's just information to have.
That's funded already, isn't it?
Yeah.
You mean the decrease in the, no, it's not happening. It's already funded.
So what do we do with the information if we know?
it would be our operating revenue for our commodities charges.
So at this point, it's not serious.
Correct.
It's just noticeable and that's good.
Yeah.
You
Right.
Keep your eye on
And
it.
it's probably just good to know,
Yeah.
get an initial understanding of what a trend may be coming.
It can't hurt
Yeah.
for you to talk to.
Now, I'm
Yeah.
gonna go, I mean, just see where the bookings are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's so funny that you mentioned that because I noticed that. You know, when I went out to dinner the other night, I said, there's many people out here. And this is August. We usually have more people that get out of the streets.
And I guess it would be helpful to understand the implication there.
Yes,
Yeah.
across the street now.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So
I knew
it's a
something was
financial
wrong
impact,
'cause I actually
But like
was
knowing the
thinking noise.
addresses, I could pull that as a separate database to pull the usage and compare it.
It's only 500, so.
Yeah.
It's not,
Yeah, I can do lookups and everything. It won't be. Yeah.
Yes, we're excellent.
Easy.
Kind of interesting if you look at Kim's numbers on line 16, 17, 18, and 19. Under the gray area, she's showing that electric cash flows are down, as she just said. Water's actually up. And then wastewater's down a little bit relative to projections. And we all know that projections aren't, perfect. So this is sort of getting to know the environment. But it's kind of interesting how there's some back and forth there. And Kim had mentioned about the drought or the low amount of rain earlier in the year.
Mhm.
But it nets out to, what is that, Kim? 200,000?
Yeah. That's what I
200,000,
read it to.
a little under.
So, there's also, just an overall, the note that I did for the economic data on page 51. There was a small increase to the 5 and 10-year, inflation to the forecast
Because
because things are still costing more. It's still hanging out.
It's not going down.
Yeah, so that actually comes from professional financial forecasters. Yeah, that's their job. It's like weathermen,
Bob, it's actually kind of an important sort of input here because a lot of these numbers are established in
Yeah.
today's dollars, and then we have to project them out. The Federal Reserve of Philadelphia puts together a survey of professional forecasters, and they make that information available. So it's just one source of sort of unbiased, projections of where inflation's going. So we can track that. It's available free.
no, I think we should use it. I just.
Yeah.
If you forecast often, so you can ask which forecast you're referring to.
I do quarterly. So,
That's good.
Yeah. All right, for, in the actual model on page 15 is the administrative or, the allocated breakdown. And for admin, I'm sorry, I didn't put the line number on there, but, line 1 and 2, the approved budget, that is based on us doing that adjusting entry for the interest or investment expense that's closed to admin. That entry is not going to happen anymore. So what is on budget versus what's actually going to happen is going to be substantially different by a few $100,000.
Say that again.
Thank you.
So
I heard
there,
what you said, but-
there's an adjustment entry for an investment expense for everything that we make on our investments that we
Okay.
reinvest in the investment.
Mhm.
They would take that away from the admin, that it's an admin decision.
Uh-huh.
But I raised the question because of this, and seeing how big of a difference that makes in our projections of if that's actually accurate to be presenting the admin
Oh, I see
decrease.
what you said.
We're not showing the true cost of admin running.
We ought to show the
So
true
wait.
cost, man.
You're welcome.
So we are getting rid of that entry for the adjusting entry,
The auditors are the
the
ones that,
auditors.
Okay.
Yes.
that's who the auditors recommended doing that.
So that will not be happening.
So admin expense is now,
About $250,000 more than what we
okay,
budgeted.
is that the 2277?
Yep.
Okay. And that's more accurately reflecting what we spend in admin.
Yes.
Oh, so they felt like it was under prior to doing this? Okay.
We were understating
Yeah, that's what I mean.
the true cost of admin running.
Uh-huh. Okay, it's okay. Okay.
Yes.
Thank
So
you.
Kim, I think what you're articulating here is this is a technical adjustment that doesn't affect the reality of the situation. It's a redistribution of where these costs and revenues are.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah, the numbers. Yeah, right.
So where is it now going to?
So it'll be something with the investment. I'm not exactly sure how it'll look yet. But this is gonna be more accurate. And that's what we're working on now with the auditor.
Are you saying the investment expenses going to go up?
I don't know exactly.
Oh, you know.
I will have more details in about 3 weeks.
They just want a pure number, that's why.
Say what?
They want a pure number.
Yes,
That's it. They want
I
you to-
specifically requested.
Right, I
pure number.
understand. Okay, I got you.
On page 23. For plumbing inspections, which is the plumbing permit fee on line 10,
Mhm.
that has actually been coming in higher than what was budgeted first quarter, but I did not change that because that can change dramatically
Fluctuates
from
all the
month to
time.
month. So I just put that note in there. I'll check it again in quarter 2 to see if it's still staying high. And then page 35.
What's the actual expense for the quarter?
It was the revenue. And I don't remember the exact number. But that speaks to what I was gonna bring up. Look what you brought up.
35.
Page 35, repairs and maintenance. Line 11. We had a large order of material for like couplings, fittings. We usually don't do this large of an order. We usually do about half of it. It was about 50,000. We usually order about 20,000.
Why did you find it necessary to order that much?
That was the water,
Robin, why did you do that?
that was the water manager.
From the water department.
Yeah.
Needing supplies.
Yep. So that, for line 11, that increased by about $20,000.
But if it's just a large one-time order,
It should.
it should even out.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
eventually it should, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you need
Ordering
it,
more
but you-
supplies at one time instead of doing it.
Right, you just, I,
Five times
you
during the year.
decide to do it up front, I
Yeah,
suppose.
yes.
correct.
Yeah, right, okay.
So that may even out as the year goes on, but I did that adjustment for that large order. Yeah.
Mhm.
Hey, Kim,
Yeah.
One time.
I didn't, so the different groups, different utilities are able to sort of put their own orders in, which certainly has a financial implication. Is there any reason to be clear with them about what's been budgeted, just to make sure they don't put something in that's so large that it kind of blows the budget out? Or is there already restrictions in what they can do and how much they can put in?
There's restrictions in the fact that they have to get approved for that purchase. But
But they have a given
If-
number that they're
yeah.
working with, right? They know.
Yeah. I-
Because that's important.
Do they know what the number is?
Exactly.
I do not express the O&M as much as I should probably.
Okay.
The
because-
capital, I am very.
Because they'll come up with any
Yeah.
number. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, they need to know.
Robin, it's Kim's fault.
Yeah. No, but I don't think, I don't want to say this in the wrong way. You know, giving them a number sometimes doesn't equate too much to them. You know, they just come up, some of the supervisors, look, I just need this.
Yeah, but they need to know parameter.
Yeah, but that's where we have from, and so we just don't let them have
You
a
know I was going
problem.
there.
They just sign it and go, okay, here we go.
Yes.
The next thing you know, we get $1 million order.
Right, exactly.
That we,
Okay, but that's you two somehow.
Yes,
Okay,
correct.
and they ought to know, at least at the start of the year, what the approved budget was and what they're going
Exactly.
beyond,
Exactly.
as Josh does. And the flip side of that, just one time I was in the factory, why isn't this machine being fixed? I'm managing the cash flow, the foreman said to me. And I said, what do you, tell me about that. He said, I'm gonna call the serviceman next month because then the cash flow will be in next month. And I said, no, call him now because we need it fixed. So, you know, you can overdo it. Apparently I did. But they ought to know what those numbers are and, you know, whether you want them to spread it out or
It gives them a
manage-
better idea how to do what they do. If they have a number that they know, this is the number I'm working with. So if they want to do that amount now versus the whole damn thing.
Yeah.
There's
Which will keep it-
absolutely room for improvement. though.
Yeah,
I mean,
okay,
it's
yeah,
nothing we
I-
don't know.
I would suggest that at, some periodic basis, but at least at the
Mhm,
beginning of the year, once the budget's, you sit down with them and say, this is what we got.
Absolutely.
And, not that they should have what they need.
Within.
Yeah, this is more, in my
Same
mind,
with numbers, right? It's just enough numbers, right? Did they help not put those numbers together with what they requested?
So O&M is mostly looking at historic and then adjusting for inflation, or if we know that we have a bunch of houses coming on or anything like that. But when I sit with the water department, I am generally only going over capital.
Mike was trying to say something.
yeah, in my mind, this is, I think we're all sort of saying the same thing. This is more information flow. They need to have what they need to have. But the worst case scenario would be that an order goes in that we're not prepared for financially, or, don't have the funds right there. And, so you just, in my mind, this is more, what's the communication channels, not can you do it or can't you do it, or do you have to put it off a month? I don't think anybody wants, it's a team effort here, and finance is important, and what's needed is important. So,
So on page 44 for stormwater, a line 8 for other expenses. So there are some generic purchases that we make for vehicles like windshield washer fluid, oils,
Maintenance.
and we used to just put that to 99 and then split up based on the administrative split. But we have, Jen actually broke down of how many vehicles we have and what department. And now whenever we have something generic like that, she splits it up.
So that finance.
Yes.
Hmm.
So that has increased the stormwater utility, because if you remember, the admin for stormwater is 1%.
Let's see.
So-
So she's now, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I see.
So that's the change in that line.
$2,000 or something.
That's about $10,000,
Yeah,
11,000.
Okay,
And we go into capital, and this is where the notes
Yeah.
really start.
Kim, before you move on, a couple of these lines here, you've done some technical adjustments that affect the projected year end. But then it looks like as we go back to 2028 through 2037, the numbers all fall back. Have those technical adjustments not been applied yet to the longer projections?
So when I believe that increase for 2028 is pulling from the approved budget, the projections. So it needs to be corrected to pull from the projected year end.
I think we did have, did have everything pulling from the projected year end, but we should check those formula. Yeah.
Yeah, when I had to add that column, I don't think it corrected to
Oh,
pull from projections instead of what was budgeted.
okay.
But do you consider anomalies though during the year so that it really wouldn't necessarily impact the forecast going forward? I mean, you could be, it should be an automatic pilot here.
So we project what's happening the following year based on what's happening now, instead of what we thought was happening.
I'm just saying that if you do that and if there's anomalies there that are not going to reoccur, do you make those adjustments?
Yeah, it'll be a quarterly adjustment of what's actually happening.
it might be a little noisy.
Yeah, I think Calvin's making a good point, but I think we're talking about a couple different types of adjustments. One of them is a technical adjustment, like how things are accounted for in the system. And if Kim's going to make a technical adjustment that's going to affect this year, it should affect all the future years as well, and make kind of a reallocation of the numbers. That's really just for the technical stuff. If there's like a one-off event, like a pipe blows up under the canal, that's a whole different thing. That's a kind of a one-off. And Calvin, I think that's the distinction you were trying to make there, and I think it's a good one. But these technical adjustments should be fed through to all the projection years as well.
So,
But those one-offs only can set the current year.
Take
not
an
the
action
future.
item, Kim.
yes, for anything, the one-offs, which would be for the operating expenses might go under the special circumstances of that line, line 12. But if, something special happened in professional services, it won't translate until the next year. For capital, this starts on page 45 for electric. Line 9, Bay Breeze Underground.
Not on 45. Page 45.
Yeah.
Line.
Line 9,
Oh, I thought you said another line. You said line 9?
yes.
Oh, okay.
For Bay Breeze Underground, that is less likely to happen this year. We're still waiting on that state for the final drawings for Kings Highway.
Okay.
I still have it on there just in case for some reason we get the drawings
Can't hurt.
timely, but I have a feeling by Q2 that's going to be off.
Okay.
Line 14 and 15, they're just small adjustments to vehicle and real trailers that's completed with actuals. Line 16, I budgeted 125,000 for a wire puller. It was only 122, so that was a small adjustment made on line 16. And then water would be on page 46 and 47. Line 4 for transite pipe, that estimate was decreased to about 1.5 million.
No, keep it over there.
Line 6 and 18, Pilot Point lead service decreased to about 1.575. And then there's a whole big note here on lines 6 and 7 and 18, 19. I originally had Pilot Point and lead service line replacement as grants. We are going to be getting SRF loans for them with hopeful principal forgiveness. So they will be reported as debt and then move to grant
After you
revenue.
get them.
So that's going to be a move from one
those
section
are-
to the other.
That's the 16, 17, 18.
That's 6, 7, and then 18, 19. So 6, 7 now has money in the debt funded area, and then 18, 19 it has been cleared out in the grant area.
Just to be very clear, because the way we've broken this model up, there's a section called debt funded, which are the projects on page 46 that run from 1 to 15. Then there's grant funded projects, which run from 16 to 21. And then there's reserve funded projects. So Kim's talking about moving these projects from one category to another.
Wasn't Donovan Smith water improvements? That's listed under debt, right?
That was the same thing. It was SRF with principal
Right.
forgiveness.
So that should be moved over to grant?
No,
No?
so it gets all reported as debt.
Oh,
Because it is.
Yeah. And then we required them to write us a letter to say it's been forgiven. To write off that debt.
Cape Cod wasn't principal forgiveness, it was a grant?
I thought
Yes.
Cape was a grant.
I thought it was principal.
Mm-hmm.
So it should be clear.
It's 20, isn't it 24,144? Not an SRF number.
I don't know, we can check.
Okay, well, we'll look at that.
What are you checking?
Cape Cod,
It's good.
I think it was principal
Yeah,
forgiveness as
I'm
well.
pretty sure it's what it is. Because they had to do the survey
Mm-hmm.
and they get approved.
And how close is that? Like,
Done.
It's done, yeah. We'll
Punch
probably-
list. Punch list. They're at the punch list.
yeah, but
So we should be-
it should
yeah.
be.
They're operational. They're running
Yeah,
water.
oh, I knew that.
Their naming mechanism is not an SRF number.
Okay.
So So that's why I put.
I don't know how it was, but yeah, it was principal forgiveness fund, but I don't know where it came from.
We can check
And then
the
the distributions. Okay, yep. All right. Line 40 for vehicles, the vac truck was completed. We still need the new dump truck and the field truck. So that, that was just a note that we are still waiting on a couple things. Line 50 for PFAS and treatment.
Yeah.
I still have 2 million in for this year, but it may be less. The quotes for the deeper wells were only about $100,000. So depending on the design costs, this is likely gonna decrease for this year.
Can you refresh my memory? I remember we discussed this. Where does the funding come from? Is that federal or state?
That's EPA, yep.
EPA. Federal.
So if it costs less, we get less.
We would file for an extension to spend that money.
There are always places to spend it on PFAS.
Oh, there's no question.
There's not enough money they could give us for PFAS.
And you're not giving it
Especially if
back.
people don't even know what it is.
I think if I understood Bob's question though, if we think the project is $2 million and it comes in at $1 million, we're not going to get a grant for 2 million now. We're going to get a grant for 1 million, right?
Well, they're doing a few different things. They're drilling deeper wells to test if the PFAS numbers come in lower, and also designing and doing some research on a treatment through our water treatment plant,
Or a new treatment.
or possibly rebuilding everything.
Mhm. So that million will still be there.
So there's plenty of money that can be spent on this project.
Oh, okay.
And we're accounting for that volume of money.
We were awarded that amount of money.
Okay, so it's already awarded
Mhm.
and we have to figure out how to spend all of it.
So they do have the guidelines of when we need to spend it.
I don't
So,
think it'll be a problem figuring out how.
so if we don't meet that deadline, then we say, hey, but we still have all these things to do. We're just not there yet.
And Kim and Sharon are getting a big bonus this year, so
Even they had to laugh.
On line 52,
Mhm.
the water tower SCADA.
Yeah.
I added that in there. We did not include that in the original budgeting. Was an oversight, about $27,000. And then the well houses, much cheaper
Yeah.
than we thought. We thought maybe they would have to do extra work, but they can just come right in and spray foam and put units in there.
Okay.
Split AC and heating, and great. We'd love to see those quotes when they came in. For
it might be
wastewater.
worth, just because we just had this discussion, but the 3 different funding sources, the debt, the grant, and the reserve funded. When reserve funded comes in below expectation, that's a net drop to the bottom line. We already have that money. It's our money. The debt funded and perhaps the grant funded, if prices come in less, you would expect the grant or the debt to come in less as well. So reserve funded is kind of a special category for us financially.
So for the debt and the grant, they'll balance each other out. That it'll be less expense and less revenue coming in.
Yeah, right. So it's
Yeah,
nothing-
But reserve is
There's nothing there.
strictly what's happening to our money.
Right.
For wastewater, line 24, Alaska Avenue. While relining, we had some issues and we're now replacing the whole line. We
Mhm.
are looking for reimbursement for the project scope change, so that's in progress, and we'll review that again in Q2 to see if that number
That's the whole
changes.
thing.
$370,000 for this year. Yep. Line 35 for vehicles. I think that was just the update on the same thing for water. That we have the back truck completed and we still need the dump truck and a field truck. Line 37 for manhole lining, Cedar Street was completed and it was $1,000 less than budgeted. And then line 53 for the water reuse pump, we should not need this anymore. After the sprayers were fixed at the wastewater treatment plant, our water usage went way down.
Oh, okay.
On page 49.
Excellent.
Say that again, Kim, that rationale.
The water reuse pump, we originally had that in the budget to be replaced because our water usage went way up at the wastewater treatment plant. But after they fixed something else, the sprayers at the treatment plant, the water usage plummeted. So we don't think it's worth that investment. Now that it's pretty much gone back to.
Well, it's only 15,000.
Yeah. And on page 50 for stormwater, wrapping her up. On line 3, the Marina Drive lining. We pushed that back. We still need to camera the lines and we're waiting for the city to have a date for repaving, which they have not decided on that. So we're already 5 months into the year. So we don't think that's going to happen this year.
We got quite a bit of money in
Yes.
Why would Marina Drive even need anything?
We were only doing it because the city was opening up the street.
As we did Ocean View Boulevard.
Yep.
The same thing, it was the same.
Yeah.
it.
So until the city moves forward, we won't move forward.
That makes sense.
There's no sense in, again, as the saying is always is, there's no sense in them paving and then 2 years later we go tear up.
You got that right.
Was that a 2-year project? I see the same number for 28 too.
No, it was only 1 year. So it was in 27, moved it to 28. So it was originally approved to happen this year. We don't think it's going to happen this year. So it will likely happen the year after.
Yep.
Oh, just, yeah, you did, right. There you
go. Line 17 for the back truck. It was $500 cheaper than what was in the budget.
What'd you do to the back truck? It keeps coming up.
I know it's in all 3 departments. Yeah. Well, it's actually in all 4 because electric.
Is this a new back truck or you
Yes.
fixed it?
No, new.
A brand new truck. And then line 21, the developer fees, they are high this first quarter coming from White's Pond Preserve. We've already had $3,700 come in for developers. They account for 2,800 of it. So I did not change that yet. I want to look again in quarter 2 to see if,
What's doing?
if the project falls off.
Yeah.
So that is everything that I saw, what the quarterly numbers were for actuals. There was a suggestion of possibly getting more into the actuals and dropping off some of these projections that we want to talk more about what's happening already year to date versus what these projections are. I don't know what that would look like, but I wanted to see what you guys thought of that, of having like the approved budget or year to date compared to what our budget was for that year to date and what our projections were.
What did this year last year?
Yes.
I mean, generally, when I see financial, you see quarter, year to date, actual versus budget.
That's
And this is a melding of actual plus whatever remaining budget is for the year. So you kind of mask. And to me, that what's happening that quarter versus what the budget was. I mean, at the end of the year, this all flushes out, but during each quarter,
It's easier to follow by quarter.
Yeah.
That's what you're saying.
I just haven't, I typically don't see this presentation.
Well, no, because I'm used to quarter.
Quarter,
First,
year to
second,
date, quarter, and then year to date, and then
Yeah.
budget,
Yeah.
versus budget.
Yes.
This is almost like a year end. It's a year end presentation,
Mhm.
basically. But for the current year, it's just a mixture of actual versus budget.
One of the issues that you have when you're sort of thinking through these things, quarterly can be quite noisy. And what Kim, is sort of doing in here is things that get moved into one quarter that may have been, let's say that were expected for quarter three that end up happening in quarter one. They'll still show up in the year end number. But I think if we go, this is just one person's view. I think if we went to a true quarterly model, first off, this is not what this model is. We'd have to add a whole bunch of more columns on this stuff. I think you're going to see a lot of intra-month noise and quarterly noise that kind of is losing the big picture, which is how's the year shaping up. So I'm only, a voice of one here. I think this is a much clearer sort of view. Kim's going through the things that are happening quarter to quarter that might affect the overall year, not just simply wash out from one quarter to the next. But if the finance committee does want to go to a quarterly view of this, it won't be this model. We don't have enough space on the paper. We'll have to develop something else to kind of show that. So she's giving color to the annual numbers.
But we don't talk about 2023 or 2032 or 2037 here. I mean, how meaningful it is.
How far out do you have to carry it?
Yeah, how meaningful is this for discussion at this meeting? I mean, this might be good to have for a discussion topic at a meeting where you present this, but is that every quarter? We're not talking anything about the last
Yeah,
5, 6,
Yeah,
7 years.
what I hear him saying though is we took those later ones off. You would have space to do what he's requesting.
With the new Waterworth, would they have an option to present that? I'm thinking
I
that they
would
may,
say yes.
that they probably have a module or a graph chart to kind of simplify it. So that might be something we look into once we get the full model worked out with Waterworth.
Because the way he's saying is the way it's always
Yeah.
been. I'm old school with him
Yep.
in that respect. To me, it's easy to follow my quarters.
Yep.
And I understand what Mike's saying because of space and you can only do so much on one piece of paper. By the same token, it kind of gets a little bit lost with the old school of.
well, I think there are
For
two
second
things
quarter.
you're trying to say, and one is quarter right now, what is really happening, which is more or less what Kim's just gone through, right? And then what
But
Mike
you don't
keeps
see it, though.
saying is out there with the longer term inflation and so on, what's happening? And I have a challenge for us at some point on that score. But and the other thing is sort of timing. Okay, I mean, by the time the board sees this, it will be 5 months into the year for the first quarter.
Well, that's a different issue.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think we ought to look at the calendar a little bit.
I think we have to be satisfied with looking at what we think we should be looking at.
Yeah.
As opposed to the board, don't misunderstand me, but the way I've always learned it was quarter. And I understand what you're saying in terms of space or whatever. But if you back off those years that we're really not dealing with, would that allow us the opportunity to put in quarterly?
I don't want to lose the presentation here because there's a story to tell.
Yes.
I just don't know it's a story to tell while we're talking about
Yeah,
financial.
I think it might be a whole different document.
Yeah.
Not in this. This is year end, which projection.
Right.
Or cash flow, and then it'll be a different document of this is what happened this quarter, this is what happened compared to last first quarter.
Yeah, this year,
This
later.
is, yeah.
Yeah, they spent more on it. People use more water or less, whatever.
For me, I have a hard time. I got these notes and I'm trying to follow along here, and just you're mixing the actual versus budget in one column. I got lost in what happened for the quarter.
And the spending, if you will, is dwarfed by the amount of grants and loans and other financing. I mean,
But at what point is it important to go over the 5 and 10 year look ahead guesstimate to see, wait a minute, are we missing something by, well, it's in the future. Let's deal with this quarter by quarter aspect.
I think it's hugely important to do that. Okay.
With frequency.
Because in fact, my little challenge is, can we keep the rate of increase of our rates to something like 2/3 of the rate of inflation for that period of time? I don't know, but this model would help us answer that question. And what Calvin is saying, I think, is, 2 months ago, we spent a lot of money on a vac truck.
Mhm.
And we had the water department, waste department bought some extra supplies. That doesn't really have 10-year implications, but the 10 year is really important.
I understand what you're saying, but from an accounting point of view, you've always done your basic quarters.
Yeah, no, I kind of agree that,
If
I
you
mean,
got-
I gotta say, Kim will tell you that I pester her more about why did so-and-so not do this, or where did that come from, than probably anybody else.
If you spend a
Is that true?
You are more curious than other board members.
You're gonna say
Can I just make, oh,
Yes, I heard.
just make a,
Spend a lot of time on the back of this board, and it was budgeted. We're done. No conversation. Right?
Yeah,
If you spend one money on a back truck, it was never budgeted. That's a different conversation. Or you spent twice as much, but we see it there.
Yeah.
On that quarter. I mean, that's what we're talking about, how to manage it. And if there's something long term that has implications here, Kim could put it. I mean, I'm not saying that she doesn't look at this, but if there's something that would bring it to our attention on a quarterly basis, hey, this has implications for our 10-year projection. Let's talk about that.
and move outs, this move from this year to next year, but
But again, we talked about this quarter, right, and the implication for the budget for this year. We didn't talk about 29 to 37, which is half this page.
so can I just throw in a couple comments here? This model is a framework that was designed to bring maximum transparency to both budgeting and to our long-term projections. There was also a very strong view that we're running a business here, and a business has to last more than 1 year. And that if we took a longer term view and we push that view out to 10 years on purpose, we'd be able to see a problem coming long before, it kind of hits us in the face. And that's the reality of running a business. The third, and there's a practical aspect to it, our reserve ratios and things like that, our reserve formulas require long-term input. So for example, our capital reserve formulas require a lookout 5 years to come up with those numbers. So there's a lot of reasons why we needed to expand this out. I don't know, this is just one voice here, that we need to necessarily talk about the 10-year horizon every single meeting. But I do think once a year we should talk about the 10-year horizon and try to make sure that we don't have a, kind of a train in a tunnel, coming at us. And I think that would be a strong discipline. I personally like this discussion Kim's taking us through, where she's kind of talking about some of the differences and things and what she originally thought in the budget to what's actually happening. Last month or so, when she went through it, she actually found some real live problems in the system, water that was leaking and all sorts of other stuff that would not have been caught without going through this kind of framework. So in my mind, we're getting an awful lot out of this structure here, but it's not a one size fits all. But I think for me, seeing how the quarterly evolution is affecting the year-end budget, for me, is very helpful and very important. I don't necessarily need to see it quarter to quarter. I think that's going to be too much noise. I do think having that 10-year horizon is going to be important, and a good discipline for us, and we need to use it at least once a season. And we do need to have these numbers for our reserve projections. So, all that said, I'm again a voice of one here. I still think this model's making for a much richer conversation than we would have had a year ago.
Yeah,
Oh, there's no question. There's no question.
Yeah, I think we all agree, Mike, to that. And this model is great. And I think at minimum, we should probably look at this 10-year projections annually, minimum, in my mind. Maybe every 6 months, but every quarter. I'd rather focus on what's happening this quarter, what happened the last quarter, and what's going to happen the next quarter, how it's going to go.
Quarterly, we're looking at accounting. Yearly, we're looking at finance.
Explain.
Well, and I think rather than yearly, I would do it every 6 months because
Fine.
you got a budget cycle, and I'll call it foreshadowing 6 months earlier.
I'm thinking of quarterly, year to date, right? You're in the first quarter, year to date is going to be the first quarter. You're looking at second quarter presentation. You're going to look at year to date, first and second quarter, and then first and second quarter budget, right? And then if you see anything that has implications for the long term, then bring it to our attention on a quarterly basis. What's the implication for whatever the noise we're seeing for that quarter?
Yeah, traditional accounting reports for quarterly.
And then come back. I mean, the model, I see two different purposes, right? What we're looking at today from a financial perspective and in the long term.
Is that doable without, I mean, you'd still want the stuff to come from this.
Well, that's the way we used to do it. So we have the forms already made up,
Well, I mean,
and we can when we run the data from the system, I can run it that way. That it was set up for the financial designer.
it's the same.
But again, with the new program that Waterworth is building, they should be able to pull those reports without us manually going back in and re-entering those. Can we start that once Waterworth? Because we're looking at October, I think.
October for
So maybe the
presentation.
second quarter, we probably won't have that available, and you might not even have it ready anyway because it's a lot of manpower, right? It's gonna take a little while to do that. Yes,
For what?
to
go back.
generate those quarter presentations.
Mm-mm.
The information's already set up
Okay.
in the accounting system.
Okay.
Because that's the way we used to do it.
All right, I was just trying to save you some
But-
legwork.
Yeah. But there's still a timing issue of when that information gets done versus trying to present it to you guys and to the board in a timely manner.
I'm not suggesting that we do this immediately, but if there's something on the horizon that will make this easier, like Waterworks in
Yeah.
October timeframe, then and I think I'm happy to wait till then.
I would be too.
We see what they provide. and-
Yeah, let's have a
Yeah.
conversation with them and then
Yeah.
Yeah.
go from there.
Have a meeting with them tomorrow.
Oh, perfect.
Because we're only talking a couple of months, right, or another quarter. They're saying one more quarter of this presentation, and then the following quarter would be what we're asking.
Yep.
If you can hit a button and make it happen next quarter, that's fine.
Yeah, there's still some manual work that needs
The
to be
look on
done.
Ken's face, that's not easy.
I would prefer not to do two different reports, of course.
Exactly.
And this will,
Yeah.
and this will align anyway with the reports that we get from our outside auditor anyway. And this present, and this will probably be a cleaner presentation to the board, quite frankly. I've seen what with the board that one Excel spreadsheet with little ants on it, and I'm sure the board probably plays over on that one.
And the draft of the audit was sent last week. We still have to do manager discussion analysis, and that's gonna come up as future. But from the draft, we are about $65,000 off of our total cash. So out of 11 million,
65 under.
65,000, we're over.
We're favorable.
Well,
We have $65,000 too much compared to what the audit out of 11 million.
Hmm.
So.
Does that pay for their service?
Don't worry, that's more than what we have to pay them.
There's a presentation later this month, right?
Yep, that's on discussion for potential future agenda topics. I have it in a little bit.
Can we go to 5? A, B, and C.
All right. Talking about Fulton again. The recap is included again. I did add a third bullet for the committee requests, for the clarity on Interfi being a pass-through, deposit insurance, and our relationship with Fulton.
this was well done, thank you. It was.
And Fulton did provide the opinion letter about Cedars, which is now Interfi, like you have brought up in the past, which is 5B, and a letter explaining that we are agent principal relationship in 5C.
Mhm.
All right, on 5B.
Yep.
This is a letter from the FDIC to someone in July 2003.
Mhm.
That's.
You want to know if it's updated.
Well, okay, I'll tell you what, this really bothered me, okay? And I said, this, first of all, it's not to us. I wouldn't want to be showing this to a judge and say I relied on it. I called my cousin, who happened to retire from the Federal Reserve Bank of Boston as controller. And he said, yes, this is done. And he said, but most often it's done by people, small families that don't like the idea that the FDI, they want completely insured money.
Mhm.
And he said, but it can change too. They can decide not. So at a very minimum, a letter from the FDIC to us might be appropriate, certainly not relying on one from 2003.
I don't think, okay, well, we could ask that, but I don't think the FDIC is going to respond that way because what are we asking for? We don't have the system.
Well-
It's a fire that actually has a system and the facts are going to be, it's going to be fact intensive. I agree 100%. This was, I expected this actually when Cedars was first rolled out in the early 2000s. I remember when it rolled out. And this is typical when you're going to roll out a product like this, that you want to get something like this from the FDIC. Since then, they rolled out a new product, right? For the demand account.
The Interfi?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
it's the same.
it's the same concept, but it would be good to have an updated version, and making sure that the facts haven't changed because it's going to be fact intensive. They looked at all the materials when they put this together and how it was presented, and how it was packaged. So I agree that it should be updated. I think nonetheless, you probably should. I don't think it would hurt to move forward and delay it any longer. If in fact it comes back and says, "Hey, you know what? You have a problem here," then we get out of it.
But isn't 5C the Fulton Bank letter? Isn't that
That's
kind of clarifying and stipulating that we are an agency
Yes,
principal?
absolutely.
And it's providing this as backup. And I agree, 2003, but
That's a little,
the only thing I can surmise is nothing has changed since then.
that's exactly what I.
They would have included that.
Right.
And it would be good to have, I mean, my view, good to have updated.
Right.
Right.
I agree. No, no.
No,
And-
right.
And given fresh materials for the FDIC legal department to review and to say that nothing has changed from when we gave the opinion in 2003.
There have been 5 presidents inaugurated since this.
I'm just saying,
Things change.
Yeah. I agree, but I don't know where Fulton is a fiduciary, they have legal standing, but they're saying accordingly when established, they say establish an agent principal and then it qualifies for the pass through. And they're using this as, I mean, I know like legally, so a lot of cases are 50 years old, but are still controlling.
Right, if opinions are still valid.
Yeah, but I don't know.
But
It's just
but
odd to
that
see something
letter is
that's
from the
old.
FDIP to somebody else.
The person who's providing the service.
Well, that law firm still exists, because I looked it up. But
What law firm?
I'm
Right here, the
Mark T. Young, Esquire.
Hebert, Young and Donahoe.
Yeah, this is the law firm that would have been contracted by Seed at the time or Promontory. Promontory is the one that offered this product. Promontory is the one that went out to this law firm and said, you go to the FDIC and get a opinion for us.
Well, okay.
So is our problem that this is dated of 2003 and we should go back and ask for something else? Is that what we have on the table right now?
Well, one other piece that might make people a little more comfortable, it certainly did for me, that since this program came out, there's been 110 bank failures that have been navigated with this system. And some of them were required payout by the FDIC. Normally, when a bank goes under, it's not a big FDIC payout. What happens is the government tries to find another bank to take over the one that's failing, take over the deposits. So this actually, over the last 22 years, this has been utilized in a lot of these different, failures that we've seen along the way as well. The only reason we had that FDIC sheet to start with is because we specifically asked, this group specifically asked for more detailed information on that principal agent relationship. Nobody's probably even going to get this FDIC letter that was written in 2003. I do agree with Calvin too. We're not asking them to bless whether we're going to be okay. We're actually asking for the actual program to be blessed. And I'm glad to see that it's actually been tried in some real life, or it's been utilized in some real life situations.
And I would hope that they were willing to understand, and we helpful for them to have an updated letter,
Amen.
especially when they had this new product rolled out.
And hurt to ask.
Right, but I'm suggesting that we don't hold up what you want to do with Bolton, because I don't think it has very minimal impact.
But go get it anyway.
So who has to do what exactly with this document? Relative
I think we're asking the folks to go back to.
Have to go back to Fulton.
Yeah,
It's just-
We're asking, EPW is asking Fulton for something.
more up to date.
To go back to Intrafy to ask for an updated letter.
Let them get it.
And is it reasonable for Fulton to say, oh, yeah, okay, no problem? Or they say, I already gave it to you?
No,
Oh, they're not gonna do that.
they're just going to go to
Yeah.
Intrafy and say, I need an updated letter, please. I go back to the FDIC, get it. And they'll pull up the file from 2003 and they'll look at the file and I'm sure they're going to submit new documents, updated documents on the plan they have. And then the FDIC will review it and issue probably the same opinion. But updated.
But in the meantime, we can proceed as if,
It's the gospel.
that this is legitimate and
I think given the facts that we talked about, I think there's no downside.
Now, I watched the last meeting. I mean, I really don't agree with putting all the money in Fulton Bank. Okay. As Mike had talked earlier in another meeting about money markets and getting a higher yield and stuff like that. I don't know if that makes much difference, but I'm just adverse to putting all your money in one basket.
So this yield is higher than money market, and
Yeah.
with it being Intrafy, it's diversified. You're going to
It's
Hey, Bob, just to be,
I'm sorry.
Bob,
go
just
ahead.
to be clear, I was very skeptical of this whole structure, and I was probably frustrating Kim and Sharon more than anybody on this. I've actually come around with the amount of material that was supplied and the fact that it's been around a long time and the fact that it's been used. I think day to day the interest rate that we're going to earn on this is going to be very consistent or reasonably consistent with a money market, government money market. My recommendation, and Kim and Sharon have kept this in the investment policy statement, is to leave both options available and allow us to make decisions real time about whether we want to use one versus the other. So we're not precluding one versus the other, but there is a couple of administrative things to become easier if we're able to use this. And Kim doesn't need to be making sure that we have enough money moved from the bank account, from the money market into the bank account to cover our, kind of expenses. But for me, I think having both options available and letting Kim and the team sort of make a decision on which they want to use at any given time is fine. But to your point, Bob, I was very skeptical, and I did have to take a lot of time to come around to this, including reading FDIC material on their website itself on this stuff. But they actually specifically talk about pass-through insurance as a viable system for doing exactly what we're doing. On the FDIC website, there's the whole document up there just on this alone. So it's something they very much recognize. And it comes up in a lot of situations that are not just simply related to what we're doing. There's trust relationships, law relationships, all sorts of stuff that this type of structure is important. So it's not, we're just using one piece of it.
And we also talk about diversification here because it's going to be the money's going to be with millions divided by 247. It's going to be with 20, 30 different banks.
Yeah.
Understand.
Yes. That's,
So I'm looking for
Motion?
an advisement to transfer to Fulton or keep it into our money market at UBS. I would like to transfer to Fulton.
I vote for you to make that decision. I mean, is that what we're saying here?
because we're giving it to you to handle.
Do we have to, as a group, approve the use of this?
Really think so.
System?
I would recommend that we approve management decision to decide on what vehicle they would like to invest in, of the options that are presented in the yet to be clarified investment policy, or give them the options, give them the options now. But I don't think we should be making that decision for them.
Well, I don't want to be technical, but I don't want to put 8 million in a bank account if we haven't blessed this group has not blessed that insurance, that pass-through insurance as a vehicle we're willing to accept. In my mind, we're accepting, we have deposit accounts or transaction accounts, and I think the vote on the table is whether those assets can sit in a pass-through insured bank account, not any bank account, but a bank account with pass-through insurance, or does it sit in the government money market fund? So I would be uncomfortable just saying $8 million in a bank account. That's not what we're saying. We're $8 million in a bank account that's got pass-through insurance feature to it.
So make a motion.
I think we're talking about the same thing here.
Yeah, I think you are.
But from a presentation perspective, I want to be consistent with the fact that we are proposing the vehicles by which management can invest those funds, not making a decision for them.
No,
That's
but
right. I think we're in agreement on that. Yeah.
At Interfi, specifically Interfi.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I think there's two parts here, as Mike just said, and as you just said, that we as a group make that decision, and then Sharon carries it forward. If I'm not mistaken, that's what I just heard.
So we are endorsing these 3 documents.
Well, somebody's
Make
got to
a motion,
forward.
Make a motion, Mike.
Yeah. So I've a motion to approve the use for transaction funds of either pass-through insured bank account or a government money market fund.
And to clarify, the pass-through insurance bank account would be through Intrafund.
Yes, that's fine. That's less important to me. As long as it's got a legal pass-through insurance, yeah. If some other company like JP Morgan offered the same thing, I would have no problem with that. It's this idea of a pass-through insurance. Are we willing to accept that as a safe vehicle for transaction funds?
So we're approving the policy change, but leaving discretion to the managers to invest the money.
Yeah, that might actually be a
Yes.
second motion.
Yeah.
Which is that Kim has, I think the way it's laid out, Kim, Sharon, and Robin have the ability to make the decision on which.
Yes.
Yeah, so right
Process.
now it
Sure,
says,
But
two of
you
the
gotta
three,
make-
I think.
Yeah, no, you gotta make the motion first, Mike, that you
Yes,
said.
which I
Then you
did.
make the motion as it
Yes.
relates to them doing it. So you need a second.
I
Yeah,
second.
we need to,
That's all.
somebody's got to second my first emotion. my
Yes,
first-
exactly. I was gonna do it, but Calvin just did it. We got a second on that. Now we have to come back
Any
through.
further discussion on it? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Now we do part two,
Which is
which is.
6A and B.
so I don't know if that part needs to be done because it's already in our policies
Oh.
of that admin can control operating
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
That's good.
revenues
That's good.
So-
to know.
of where they
Right.
see fit.
Two of three.
That's good to know.
Just Robin,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Robin and
yeah.
So we don't have to do a motion on that then if it's already in your policy.
Yeah.
Okay, then we just did it.
But don't we need to approve this new policy?
that
That's
is, there's a
next day,
whole lot
yeah.
of changes in that one. So
Yeah.
it's not specifically to
Yeah.
that.
Okay.
We're done with 5A, B, C.
Yes.
Yes.
Now we're going to 6A and D.
Yes.
Easy part.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, this is where the real fun begins.
So,
And what we just got through was pretty touching.
Yeah.
quite a change.
Thanks, Mike.
Yeah.
This is quite a change.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So,
This AI.
yeah,
Mhm. Mhm.
Sharon is amazing. And she ran some AI of the draft that I started last time, what we currently have, pulled in what other municipalities are doing. And this is what it gave us. We made a couple little changes here and there, but this is predominantly the AI.
I like your definitions.
Yeah.
I like
So
that.
AI basically gave us the best practices.
Yes.
That were out there.
That's a draft of 7/27/26. Just, I'm just adding
Sure.
that to better
Uh-huh.
define what we're talking about. Because it was issued with the agenda. and
6A and 6B is
Mhm.
the ones
Old
that I
and
printed
new.
off. I
6B is the old one, right?
Oh,
Yes.
correct. Yeah, old and new.
I'd prefer if we never look at that again.
Yeah, quite a difference.
I agree.
So it starts out with the purpose, and then it goes into our definitions.
Mhm.
It was brought up of defining cash or cash and cash equivalents in that definitions section. And then there was also a question about the definition of liquidity. That
You don't use liquidity and define the liquidity.
Don't you mean time?
You don't mean
In
that.
that-
You can't say maintenance of sufficient liquidity if you're given the definition of liquidity.
So on the second page, yep. It says the ability to convert an investment into cash without significant loss of
Oh,
principal.
up here.
So
Okay, I got you. I got
that's
you.
more of like a liquid
Definition.
asset.
Yeah, it's just.
Yeah,
red-
I think
And
Go ahead.
um,
Go
well,
ahead.
I think I was the one that was a little concerned about the way that was written. I think maybe something to measures the degree or the
Yeah.
ability to convert an investment into cash. It measures the degree that an investment can be converted to cash without loss of principal. It's just this is a wordsmithing thing. I think liquidity is
Yes.
a very important concept. It's just a
Yes.
wordsmith.
Yes, thank you.
Don't you need something that says time in there?
Yes. Yeah.
I
Well-
mean, a vacant lot can be converted to cash.
Yes. The trick there was, I agree with that, Bob. The trick here is without a significant loss um, of principal value. Well, to your point, Bob, if you try to convert a lot to cash the next day, you're going to take a massive hit on the. But
Yeah,
so liquidity, the concept of liquidity is just trying to measure that degree of how quickly you can convert something to cash.
Well, I would say within 30 days.
Well,
Well,
you don't have to put a
yeah.
period on it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we're
it's just
we're
a-
just trying to
No, we're
define
just
what
trying to-
liquidity is.
Yes,
I understand
So-
that. I
But
understand.
we're not concerned with the time frame of it. I'm sorry.
I am. I
So
am.
the
Here.
so also include like the ease.
Huh?
The ease of
Well, I think Bob's separating the concept of a liquid asset versus the concept of liquidity. Every asset, every asset, property, everything has a degree of liquidity. Some of them, are lousy. Some of them are high, but there are liquid assets, and I think Bob's trying to define a liquid asset, which would be something that we could define it more tightly. Bob, I think for the purposes of this investment policy statement, there was more of a concept of liquidity as opposed to defining a liquid asset. But your point is a good one. If others disagree, that's fine. But in either case, I didn't think this one was written to solve either one of those. The concept of liquidity versus what a liquid asset is.
could it read the measure of ability and ease to
Yeah,
convert
yes.
investment
Oh,
into
yeah, that's
cash?
easy.
Without a
Yes.
significant loss of value.
Absolutely.
Fine.
Yeah, that is right. Clear and concise.
Okay. The next thing that I have as marked is in section 4D.
I got to,
Okay.
3C.
Yep.
Three.
Maybe,
Okay.
maybe. Well, after FDIC insurance shall be considered as one form of diversification. Others might include U.S. Treasury, government securities. You're locking yourself into the FDIC program, okay? That may or may not be good 10 years from now.
So our idea of putting that in there was to make sure people realize that is a way that we're diversifying.
So maybe we remove shall, but may.
I'm just saying the FDIC thing is considered a form of diversification. There are others that might be equally secure.
I mean, we could list them, the others.
I'm not asking for my particular wordsmith. I'm just saying, I agree with you that
Yeah.
that says that you're defining that as diversification, but
Other ways.
it is not the only way.
And you might even make a
to
wise
what?
ass argument that's not diversification, because at the end of the day, you have one insurance company, it's the FDIC. That is your insurance company, and it doesn't matter if you have them all in one bank or if you have them across 50 different banks.
Mhm.
We did Google it
Huh?
to see if it counted as a diversification, and
And it said
it
yes.
said yes.
Well, I will tell you, I think the risk, it's like
Well,
you
listen.
have one insurance company here. That might just be that sentence might not be helpful. And maybe others disagree, but at the end of the day, I feel like you've got one insurance company here, which is the FDIC.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
so maybe we just add not limited to.
I'd be not
Right.
limited to,
Yeah.
and then
That and
my
then
notes
list a
said,
few other things. Yep.
Well, I had that.
How do you know?
Yep.
Can you read it?
Sometimes I can't read his writing.
That's why I passed
This
it.
includes but not limited to.
And I'm not
utilization
sure, and
of
I'm
fund.
not,
Yeah. I was writing down the ideas. I don't know what
Other
that,
than that
I don't
particular,
know what that last word is.
that says, US government securities. Just because I only wrote some of the letters.
SRC, I had no idea. Okay.
Um,
We can work on that one.
okay,
So my next note is 4D. Anything before then?
no, but I have a big question mark there.
Yes. So that is a blank right now. Bolton requires two approvals for any movement over $500,000. I don't know what we're looking for, so this will be done internally. That it'll probably be like initials and sign off on it, and then it'll be scanned into the accounting system, into the accounting journal entry as the backup.
Well, from a practical perspective, what are you suggesting? Just from a day-to-day operational, moving money to pay bills?
You know, that's a great question. Sometimes we'll have really big payments to vendors for capital projects, like the water tower. Right now, our payments are huge for like all the work that they're doing now, as compared to 3 months ago, they were $30,000 payments. So, my first instinct would be $250,000 or 250
To move money from what point A to point B?
to have two
signatures.
signatures.
What we're saying is we're moving money from one account to another, right? What are we talking about?
Well, for
Transaction-
example, from the bank to
Any movement at all.
the payment account.
Yeah.
Well, but you say
Yeah, any-
transactions, so what?
Yeah, any movement.
What transactions are, can you define transactions?
It'll be any movement out of one account, either whether it be payments or transferring from one to the other.
Down to
So you're just moving money, which you don't want to define, further clarify what transactions mean.
Uh-huh.
Want to make sure you're not write a check to yourself. One transaction, that's a transaction. So, but then there's controls in place within disbursement of the monies in the account, right, that you have. And what's that number? That 10,000? You need two signatures.
So for 2,500, we need approvals from GN.
Okay, so
For
you need
payments.
two signatures then?
right now.
Yes, so if we have anything over 2,500, we need a purchase order that is approved by the general manager, and then the ordering person would put in that order. But if we're doing some kind of large payment or a movement from one account to the other,
How are you handling that?
Okay, but you have controls in place within the account, so you're just moving buckets of money from point A to point B.
yeah, so I guess this really would just be money movement from one account to the other, because even like invoices for payments, they get approved by myself, Robin, and Richard.
That makes sense.
All those things.
So yeah, now that we've talked about this, it'll be just money movements.
Mhm.
To pay bills.
Well, I mean, you've got expenses of roughly $16 million a year, but it's $20 million a year, really.
But those come through the accounts payable module, which will get approved.
Yeah, but it's
By
still
everybody
you have to
already.
take money out of the investment accounts to put there.
What's the implication now that you have everything in Fulton? I mean, what's the implication from moving money from point A to point B? What's the investment concern? So that you're still earning the same amount of money, right?
So it'll be,
I would say here, this would be more like moving money from UBS
yeah,
to
From-
Fulton, from the reserve account, the money that they're managing for us now, moving it to Fulton, so you can actually write a check to a vendor.
Mhm.
Kim, is that,
or excess in operating and moving it to investments.
Yeah, and that's going to happen every year as formulas change and not formulas change, but the inputs change, and we need to make either contributions or withdrawals from reserves.
What level does Richard approve? Right now?
Treasurer approves every invoice. They look at everything. And then I look at everything, and then Robin looks at anything over 2,500.
Well, I don't know. I would think that $250,000 is a little too low for what you're talking about here.
For transfers.
But we're talking about moving money between accounts, right?
Yeah, that's your basic.
Yeah, so when we were talking about just money out, we have a good bit of transactions that happen every month. But if we're just talking about cash movement from one entity to the other, really, I would say that number goes up for moving money.
And that's where Richard signs off.
Well, and right
It
now,
would be it'll be admin. It'll be internally.
Yeah, I started to say that you've got to have the ability to move.
Yeah.
Money.
and
It's
we've
just
already talked,
what is the threshold of me saying, okay, move the money, and now let's get the GM or AGM involved.
Well, we already gave you that question, didn't we? Didn't you just say that was already on the books?
We don't have that threshold of moving money, of when one person can do it versus two people as a
But
security.
you're sort of saying $250,000 you and Robin could do. And then over that, maybe Richard is involved? Is that what you're saying, or?
This will just be administrative.
So you just move?
Where's the threshold of one person
Yeah.
compared to two people? Or-
Yes. That I'm not just doing everything.
Yeah.
That someone's actually
That's,
looking over my
that's what
shoulder.
this is, yeah.
Well, yeah, that's what's
Yeah.
important.
Okay, so we're talking about the Fulton accounts, the two Fulton accounts and the UBS account, right?
Yes. So
Jim, I would
transferring
say
from
this is not-
Fulton to. Go ahead.
this is not written like we're talking about here. I think your header's got to be, you sort of have, you've got money moving around within accounts. Like, for example, we're talking about moving $8 million from a UBS money market to a Fulton Bank. That's an internal move. And I think what you're articulating now is how much authority do you have to do that without getting somebody else's authority? But the second
Right.
type of movement of cash is from within the organization to outside the organization. And that's a different level of threshold. And so,
Which
but
I think that's
this is not written like that at all. It was a little unclear. Yeah.
Yeah, the money going to another organization, I think, is covered already with our accounts payable process.
Yeah.
The concern is it should be my primary duty of moving cash, of keeping accounts healthy, but at what point do we say, hey, we need someone else to look at what you're doing?
Yeah.
What is that threshold?
Do you want to take another stab at kind of wordsmithing this or clarifying it a little bit? We might not obviously approve this today, but it might be worth coming back. One other thing I would say on that number one there is you point out short-term capital reserves. I would just say capital reserves, unless there's a reason you're leaving long-term capital reserves out of that. That's in the second line on number one, B1.
So we originally kept long-term out because of that cash matching strategy that would be through a third party, but there's also a recommended change to include other short-term investments in long-term capitals if it's
So if that's
So
approved, I think
that
you
would
take
have to
that
change.
short-term. Yeah.
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 Just to clarify, the intercompany movement money between accounts. Is there every situation where you can't, people are on vacation, you gotta move money, like quickly? What's the number there? People are away. What kind of, just trying to figure out the worst case scenario and kind of,
So
Plan
for
for that.
Fulton, they already limit us to 500,000 that we need to.
you two signers.
Mhm.
Okay. But that, well, we can move money between the accounts. Or to write.
To move it, like to move to UBS.
Oh. Not to move it to a different account outside of them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I mean, but you could also.
They don't know what controls are at UBS. That's why you do that. They know what the controls are within Fulton.
Yeah.
But
They're protecting themselves.
Yeah.
as everyone figures out, if the limit's $250,000 and you need 400, you can do it twice.
There is a workaround, I'm sure, but
Kim, how does this all fit into D? 4D.
yeah, so we have to rewrite that as, instead of transactions, it'll be, I don't know the wordsmithing there, but money movement between accounts, something like that.
But keep
And-
in mind,
Internal accounts.
yeah,
Internal.
and define what you mean by internal.
Yep.
Yep.
UBS would be an internal account.
Might be a definitional ad.
Yeah,
Internal.
yep.
Exactly.
And then I'm thinking 500,000 just to match with what we already have to do with Fulton anyways.
That makes sense.
Letter E. One of the philosophical pieces here, which I'm sure everybody would agree with, but just to state the obvious, you don't want to have anything in a document like this that you don't actually do. And so, with that in mind, if you look at the bottom of E, the last sentence, it says the administrative team shall maintain and periodically review the institutions currently used by PPW available to the Finance Committee upon request. I mean, all of us, I think, in this committee would want us to use sound institutions. The question is, how's that actually done? And I think we should be clear about what we're doing there to assure that UBS and Fulton are of sound,
Well, and we don't really have the ability to, audit them in a meaningful fashion. We have to rely on.
Moody's, S&P.
Hmm?
Moody's and S&P, the rating agencies.
Moody's, S&P, FDIC.
Well, we should redefine that because I agree. I don't know what sound financial condition is because that really that's really spelled out in certain financial situations or financial industries. There is it's almost like a term of art,
Yeah.
safety, soundness kind of thing, or adequate capitalization. That also there are capitalizations that are adequate in financial services industry. There's well capitalized, and I mean best. It's almost a defined term of art rather.
The only thing Kim, the only thing Kim should be able to do is to find find probably Moody's and S&P, which both rate these organizations because they have to rate their debt. And so it could be something as simple as we'll use banks with a single A rating or double A rating and above. We'll use investment advisors. UBS has to put out debt. Goldman Sachs, they all put out debt. A broker with a rating of whatever the rating is. But my point is, if we're going to say in here that we're looking for sound financial institutions, I think we should be clear about how we define that and how we're going to do it, or it shouldn't be in here. But Calvin, you're right on. We can't. These guys can't be going through financial statements of our banks and things like that. They've got to identify widely accepted, widely available organizations.
Well, you just have to stop with the business in Delaware.
Right. Just
And then you have to
eliminate the
take
rest.
of it.
Because isn't that implied?
Yeah.
I mean, almost, we're talking
Right.
about public
I
funds
mean,
being
you would
invested.
think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right. You're right, Mike. I think we just take that line out and stop at Delaware. Just
To the further.
On letter F, I think we don't need that, and probably should be taken out, but
We kept it in there, if we don't use Interfi.
but I think this group has said that they're not willing to putting money in banks that's uninsured. So,
That's for sure.
Okay,
if that's the case, then F's not needed at all.
Question back on E.
mm-hmm.
Is it appropriate that the team shall recommend to the board
Where are you, what page?
on E?
E?
You're what we just,
We
before
just did.
going to.
Yeah. Mhm.
Even if what's written is the administrative team shall approve all institutions. Is it relevant that it should be that the team shall recommend to the board to approve?
Yeah, we don't,
Are we-
we don't have
we-
authority to do it.
Getting to, is this implying too much of we can tell,
Yeah,
do this just on our own?
Is this an admin decision or is it a board decision? Is
Well,
what it's-
we've made a decision, but whether it's a recommendation rather than we're just approving, and we've set the.
Well, I think
grounds
Richard
for it.
makes a good point.
Yep.
That
we're not the end.
But who we use for investment, as long as they're following the investment policy. That, I think that should be an administrative ability to,
This as long as.
but that's the question is, if you want this to be a board decision, then that needs to be discussed of.
Well, is that appropriate just for this one E entry, or is it somehow covered otherwise? And I think generally the finance committee makes, reviews and makes recommendations to the board. The board makes the decisions. It's that context of we inadvertently stepping into a conflict that implies that, we're looking for too much power.
I think the board is going to review the policy. So once they approve this policy, just like they approved the old policy, you guys have already given staff that freedom to say, yes, we're going to go with Interfi, right?
okay,
Yep.
But then the board could probably require things like certain Moody's ratings, certain
Correct.
other things. And I think Richard's point is, let's say that Robin falls in love with Citibank. I don't know that he would, but Citibank may or may not be a high standard,
Mhm.
a high enough standard. And so maybe, I think maybe the board is agreeing or informing or approving changes from financial A to financial institution B. It seems like the board ought to know something or be able to set a standard above,
I think the mechanism we would use to inform the board of these changes would be during those quarterly reports. So when Kim gives her report, she's going to say, here, take a look at that investment line. You'll see that we either increased or decreased. And, that happened when we switched over because they had a better rate, blah, blah, blah. I think the other aspect is I think the board may be getting into more of the day-to-day operations and you guys more at a high level. So, but that's my opinion.
There are these curious people that.
Yes.
But, you know, I think having some either write in some standards that the board can approve.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, the standards.
A-rated
that can be
and
done.
so on, or government debts and US treasuries and so on, or, but if you change from, let's say Fulton Bank to Citibank, the board better know why.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah.
Well, if within the criteria that's set up in the board policy, it would just be point of information, by the way,
Yeah.
we changed banks.
Yeah, but, you know, as everybody knows, the way you ask the question and present something is, you know, well, we finished the back truck purchase versus, thank God we finished the back truck purchase, is a different statement. You know, we've had an argument about Fulton Bank already today, and who you're dealing with and the veracity of this program. I think if you wanted to change institutions to some other bank or some other banking program, it ought to be either in this policy or approved by the board.
Okay, as a starting
So-
point, we're looking ultimately to have this policy that we are going to replace the old one.
Correct.
And that's our recommendation to the board. Here it is.
So let's say,
And within this, we can insert the what ifs, what needs to be further reported to the board when such an event happens of magnitude that kind of covers. We've installed guardrails and characteristics of what we're trying to do, which we think is much better than it was before, and that this document will supersede this guy. And this guy no longer applies, which is like a comment or a question I had at the end.
So
I
let
think
me,
we have high trust in you all, okay? But that doesn't mean that somebody gets hit by a truck and somebody far less sophisticated.
You make these
Sitting
things for
upstairs.
just in general.
For the office,
Yeah.
not the
Yeah.
person.
so let us reword it. We'll put in those standards, and then we'll also maybe put in like a trigger to that. Hey, this has happened. It needs to be reported to the board. Something like that. All right.
Yeah, policy is the board, procedure is admin.
Yep.
So you write the policy of what we need to do, and then we internally make that procedure to meet all those policies.
I unfortunately have to leave because I have to chair a call at noon. And it's actually on number 7, which it's just a future topic.
Mhm.
It's a call with the University of Delaware regarding their digital twin AI technology. And
what's on 7, which
we're
one?
looking at September 24th or 25th to do what they call a lunch and learn at their campus in Lewis.
Thank you.
And certainly the city of Lewis, who flooding and other things, but BPW would certainly have a keen interest in this, I would think, on how this technology can help. But I think that should certainly be, it just simply called AI, University of Delaware's AI Digital Twin Project. Would be a really good future topic, but I've got to run because I've got to actually chair the call with them. And we're not voting just on this today, are we?
No.
Yeah.
no.
Okay, so I don't need, okay.
So this project that you're talking about, is that open to the public or?
Not yet. I mean, it's well known that UD is just trying to get $3 million from the federal government to launch this AI institute. that they are doing in conjunction with the governor's office. But this digital twin technology NVIDIA has developed it, and they've approached all the states, and Delaware's been pretty proactive in taking them up on an offer. Plus UD has a long time relationship with them. So this call is designed to kind of bring stakeholders from Lewis, UD, and others to kind of talk about, and by then we will hopefully have goals. Hey, we're looking to mitigate flooding. We're looking to understand whether our pipes, how old our pipes are, and what, might the status of them. It's still unclear whether the technology how far it can go underground. But anyhow, it's in the early stages. I would never say it's.
There's a flooding study being done by the University of Delaware. I haven't heard from it for a year, but if they come, then
They'll be part of this because
that'd be good.
Because this is not just telling us where the vulnerabilities are. This technology is supposedly can tell us, where the future problems are going to be. So it kind of looks ahead. It's wildfires as too. Another one. Lewis is at risk of wildfires, and a fire starts in the state park. What's going to be the path of it? That kind of thing. So,
I'll just don't go down.
Thank you.
okay. See you guys.
Take care.
Okay.
Okay, so that was E. We're getting rid of F since we will not have anything past FDIC insured amounts.
Right.
Okay, so it's getting rid of.
On section 5, all I had was a note over here of adding the table that I originally presented of the different kinds of investments and the funds.
Those are just definitions of them.
On
Yeah.
B, the reserve fund, what's the method? Or does a method have to be? Isn't this where we now have the 5, 10, 15, 25 calculations that doesn't appear any place?
So in the reserve funds are the operating reserve, the capital reserve, and the deposit reserve. And then we broke them down because they're going to be invested separately,
Okay.
differently.
Okay, so we don't need that formula anymore of here's how we calculate the reserve funds, and then we say some are restricted and some are not.
So that's the cash reserve policy. That's saying we require that much money. This is saying this is how we invest that money.
And
So it's two different
are
policies.
we changing how we calculate that much money?
Not yet.
Okay,
This is just stipulating where.
Yeah.
This is just stipulating where.
Yeah.
That's all.
Richard, I think the point you just made, though, should be on our future
Yes.
agenda, just to review those formulas and make sure that we still agree with how they're written.
I mean, that would tie in with the 5 and 10 year look ahead.
Yeah.
There are also another note in here, under capital reserves, long-term capital reserve projected beyond 2 years. To add in there, like in addition to short-term capital reserve investment instruments, we also will look into asset,
Long-term.
the cash matching policy, that we're not just doing those things, that it's open to whatever we see fit for long term, whether it be short term investments or the cash matching.
And just to be clear with everybody, that section there that starts off that Kim just referred to that says long-term capital reserves, you'll notice that it says invested using a structured approach with asset allocation or cash flow matching strategies. Currently, we're using an asset allocation strategy, UBS. It's widely written and, it's just hard to get your head around. The current investment policy statement, the one that we're looking to replace, does have a placeholder or does have a section about cash matching strategies. So we need a little bit more work to do to educate the committee on that, but those are viable strategies for longer term liabilities like long-term capital spending needs. But that's yet to come. So Kim's just saying in the long-term capital reserves, not in the short-term reserves, in the longer term stuff, we could still invest them just like we doing the short term, but also there's a couple of other approaches that we could deploy as well, in particular the cash flow matching. I realize that's an area that this committee is not that familiar with, but that's just part of our future education in the committee to get comfortable with those techniques.
And then also in long-term capital reserve, 3 rows up, where it says nationally recognized statistical rating organization, to change statistical to credit rating organization. And then this is just another fine from Mike for section C, or 5C, I guess. The very top of the next page, I should have put page numbers on here, guys. I'm gonna do that next time. Including but not limited to state or federal awards, developer contributions, et cetera, et cetera.
Where is that?
The very top line, where it says including state or federal awards, just to add included but not limited to. Section 5. So
Section 16 of the page.
Okay, it's on this one. No, it's section 7.
Can I-
section. 5,
yep, and then one more page.
that's where it was.
Oh, why is yours printed off differently? Okay,
It's in
They
a
do
page.
that to confuse.
It's a
you.
page number and
The-
page.
Did it stick together?
special, including but not limit to state or federal awards.
Kim, I have one more thing in that
Yeah.
upper area, if this is okay. Guys, I don't know if any of you read the Wall Street Journal, but this morning they actually ran a front page article on endowments. Basically, it was around schools, universities using their endowments inappropriately. A lot of endowments come with restrictions. They're donor restricted or board restricted assets. And some of the general managers, presidents of these universities have been using them for purposes that they weren't outside of the restrictions. For us, we have restricted assets as well. You have board restricted assets. So those are assets that are once the board approves the formulas for the capital reserves, for example, those become board restricted funds. But Kim also has, if you look at, do you see where it says reporting and compliance, topic 6? Kim, you don't have page numbers, so I have to do it. So I know you already said that. I'm doing it this way. If you go up 2 paragraphs where it says, at the top, close to the top of the page, it says these funds shall be invested conservatively to prioritize liquidity, preservation of principal, and compliance with source-related restrictions. So that's another restriction that could potentially come on these funds. Source-restricted might be government funds that we get for a specific purpose. And although they're coming from the government, you can't just use them to do anything. They're restricted. So my ramble about this is part of that endowment article in the Wall Street Journal today was how there's lawsuits happening now because people are using restricted funds in a way that are outside the restrictions. And whether it's part of this document about how these should be invested, or whether it's part of, let's say, a separate reserve document, I think we should have, or make sure we have clear controls and I don't know, reports to ensure that the funds that are restricted, and many of our funds are going to be restricted, are being utilized in within the restriction parameters. If we don't do that, first off, there's a whole bunch of reasons. One is we may all legally be liable for that, including the board, if those funds are being misused. So I think this is a really important thing, and if any of you do have the Wall Street Journal, it's worth reading the article. It's pretty lengthy, but it's a good. We're not running an endowment here, just to be clear, but the restriction concept I think is similar.
Yeah, you can't take clean water money and use it on electricity.
Exactly. So what are the controls that we have? You know,
I would think so. It should, but I think Mike is saying it should be part of the policy.
I don't know what the one thing is, I'm not 100% sure which policy it should be part of. We sort of have a blanket of policies, and you don't want to have a lot of duplication, but do we have a separate reserve policy that will include capital reserves? Maybe it's a funds policy, and I'm just thinking out loud here, that would also include those special purpose funds and the reserves. But we've got to make sure that funds are being utilized the way they were intended to be utilized.
We have a reserve fund.
We have a cash reserve fund, yes.
There are some funds that are unrestricted. Our normal sort of cash operating accounts, they're unrestricted. Kim can put labels on trucks or something because she likes the color pink. But other stuff, is restricted. And I just, somewhere in our structure here, we've got to have something about those restrictions and controls around following those restrictions. Our auditors should also be looking at that, frankly. I'm not sure what they use or what tools they have to look at that.
Is that another little separate section?
It could be. I don't have a strong view here whether it's part of the investment policy statement or whether it's part of a separate reserve policy or funds policy more generally that has both reserves and special purpose funds in it, because all those things can possibly be restricted.
It could possibly be in the investment policy if they specifically say you cannot make money on this money that we're giving you. But I would say that it would be mostly appropriate in a cash reserve of defining what those are and reporting what we're using them for.
By the way, you might just want to tell everybody what you just meant, because it's a good point. What you just meant about you can't earn a return on government funds given early. Yeah.
Oh, I understand.
Yeah. So for ARPA specifically, when we got the ARPA funds, I specifically went and asked the state if we can make money on this or if it needs to sit in our bank account. And they told us that we can put it in our money market or whatever. They just said that we cannot lose the funds.
They let you use ARPA money like that?
Yep.
I did not know that.
You can put it in money.
I thought ARPA
State.
money, if you didn't use it, had to be returned.
Oh yeah. We used everything.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
because I was gonna say, wait a
Yes.
minute,
Yeah.
I remember
Yeah.
when we gave money,
Yeah.
you guys and everybody
Yeah.
else that.
It was very specific of where
Oh,
we could
okay.
put it, like government
Freaked
backed.
me out.
Yeah.
No, seriously.
So what mean you can't make money?
Like we couldn't put it in like stocks. Because we might lose that money.
Mhm.
I think there was also a
bank account.
Mhm.
Temporary. And you don't have to pay the interest back.
When you said you can't make money, I'm like,
Yeah.
where's our account?
ARPA.
Yes. So it does have a piece in the investing that we have to follow the rules from where we're getting the money,
Mhm.
but I think it's more appropriately broken down into a cash reserve.
As long as it
No, we-
stands
we
out.
do- We also have this concept, again, just thinking out loud here. We've got this concept of restricted funds and unrestricted funds. The unrestricted funds are pretty simple. That's your operating bank accounts. You can use it as need. But then
Anyway,
almost everything else we have fund-wise is restricted. Whether it's restricted by reserve policy or it's restricted by source, by sources like the government, for example. And again, I haven't really thought through this. Do we need to have a restricted funds policy or a restricted something that's a little bit? We're not so worried about unrestricted funds, but we should be very worried, very concerned about restricted funds, that we're meeting all the restrictions.
sure, I agree with that.
And those to Kim's point about the special purpose funds, those things over time are going to change. The reserves themselves are going to be defined. In my mind, they're board designated and come with a formula that's approved by the board. But the special purpose funds, that they're going to change over time depending on their nature and where they're coming from, whether it's the state or federal government and what rules they might have around them. But the question is, what do we have to monitor that, and what policy statement should we have to articulate how we're going to do that?
Why would we not do that?
Why would we have to? Because
Why
if you
would
do-
we not do that?
Who's got to keep up with it?
Establish a policy or a letter 6 or whatever, having to do with restricted funding.
I don't know if you're asking. I think that would be a helpful thing to have. Yeah.
And this document,
Yeah, I have a note there of adding to follow the rules
Okay.
of where the money's coming from. And then my last note is on section 7 for internal controls, number 4. This is an AI addition for custody and safekeeping. It's the third line down, delivery versus payment basis. I had to Google what that meant. It means that the selling of the investment and the payment is happening at the same exact time, not requiring a payment and then giving them the investment, vice
Say
versa.
that again, slow.
It's that the investment and payment is happening at the exact same time,
Mhm.
the transfer.
Mhm.
And then there's others of like they require a payment before you get that investment.
Mhm. Okay.
So this was included as AI addition suggestion, I guess. So I put it in there. I did email Tim from UBS. He didn't give me a straight answer, but he said we should have a workshop of investment policy statement and what our objectives are, and what they're doing and how they might change based on what our objectives are.
Good luck with that.
So I don't know if that means that they're not doing that or
You know exactly what it means.
I've got to tell you, I saw that language too. I have no idea what delivery versus payment really means in this context. This is maybe one negative with AI. You can throw in a whole bunch of stuff that may be not pertinent to what we're doing as an organization.
So
I-
learning.
I mean, I don't know how UBS.
Sometimes they call these things hallucinations.
Yeah, like I
Maybe AI is hallucinating.
don't know how they would allow funds being risked without having a payment. Or
All right.
yeah.
The
So
last
I don't know if we
the
should just
last
keep that
sentence
out.
there is the one I
I
understand.
don't know what it is. We
Yeah.
should leave it
No
in.
securities? Which one?
Be held directly by the broker dealer or investment advisor.
Yeah, well, that's clear.
That is, I understand that.
Yeah.
Then we're gonna take out the DVP, which also learned that was a acronym that they say.
Yeah, so
I was like, look at me.
move right along,
Yeah.
aren't you?
So what prompts are you using to generate this? Are you referring back to the guidance or announcements in the government finance
Yep.
officers
And I think he did
association plus the cash management?
Yep, I use the cash management. And then, so typically because the financial language, usually I leave to Kim. So if I didn't understand it, I say, what do you mean? I ask it, I say, what do you mean by this? And then I said, okay, well, let's put it in plain language, not all of the terms.
So
So,
you did use those as prompts, and then maybe going out and looking for similarly situated
mhm.
utilities
Yep.
across the country.
And we typically go more off of municipality over a utility because we're not technically a municipality, but we are a government entity. So we have to follow different rules and a so like the co-op has completely different rules than we do for Delmarva Power.
So the draft I sent you is completely different than what this is.
I have not taken a look at your draft, to be honest. You sent it either late last night or this morning, and I didn't even open it up yet. But yeah, what we can do,
Completely different.
what we can do, we can actually kind of upload both of them. I do this a lot and say, hey, point out the significant differences. Why is one focused on this area as opposed to this area, and see what kind of explanation we get back.
Let me resend you one, and I'll make sure there's page numbers on it.
Okay.
The one I have here, that's just page.
Okay.
All right, guys. I already said.
And I'll resend it. And I, Mike has done this probably umpteen times. He's our guru here, so I think he needs to take a look at whatever we come up with, probably the first time. And have him comment on it. But I mean, my suggestion is that we take a look at this, Sharon, we do what we're gonna do, send it to Mike, and let him tear it up, and then send it back to us and say, this is his version, because he'll give us the good housekeeping seal version.
Yep, we can do that.
Well, I don't want to complicate it. I did send over Kim. I wrote the investment policy statement for the Children's Beach House, so you have that one as well.
Did you write that one?
Yeah,
We
that
should
would be
probably-
that'd be more traditional in its. Calvin, you might be sort of going down this path. The one that's in front of us right now is not written sort of in a traditional sort of flow, but I think it's 10 times better than the one we have. So I was kind of happy with the way it was going. But I'm happy to review anything at the end, and I can resend them one from the Children's Beach House if that would be helpful.
Okay.
Is it on their site? Probably is on their site.
It might be on their site. The problem with that is it's written for an endowment, so it's a very specific type of fund. So we're writing a different animal here in some sense. So I don't want to overdo that particular. These investment policy statements have to be sort of written to the organization.
Right.
Or similarly situated organizations. That's fine. But I mean, are we okay with that?
Yep.
Taking a quick
Yep.
peek at it and send it to Mike. Yeah, we can come back.
Okay.
Anything else?
No,
That the one though?
we're good.
I want to do it once.
We're good.
That's good news.
Yeah.
I'll resend you this.
Is that the one?
Yeah.
Based on the time, I'm gonna go back and do another thing. I'm glad to know.
You want to go over 6B?
That's,
Update this.
I wasn't even gonna include it, but then I was like, if someone tries to compare it to whatever and they don't have it.
How are you going with waterworks or water, whatever?
Waterworth?
Yeah.
So I have a weekly meeting with them now. Going over information and what it looks like in the system, and I should be getting my login this month to start messing with the system myself. And yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
I am really optimistic about it.
All right.
Number 7.
So for the audit presentation, I already have it marked down on the August 24th at 1 p.m.
If you remember finance from now. Mentioned something earlier.
August 24th, at what?
That was just, I was looking at the cash to see.
Are
How
they
far off
coming
we were?
here?
Yes, that's why it's at 1 p.m. So, because if it was at 10 a.m., they would have leave at like 5 a.m. So,
No preliminary.
No.
All is good.
yep. They haven't expressed anything different.
Do you guys think it would be helpful to keep a running list of future agenda topics? Richard, you ask this every meeting, and it's going to take a while to get to some of the topics, but it feels like, as we sort of have these discussions, maybe keeping a tally of the topics that are possible agenda items would be helpful.
I agree.
Yeah, I agree too. I sometimes send them to the staff and they somehow.
They forget them.
I did forget.
They forget.
What are you trying to
Just
say?
just a little twist there.
Yeah, did you do that?
I'm curious enough.
Yeah.
So a couple that I
was
would
my fault. He didn't message me.
throw on there is we should reserve. We should review the reserve formulas. Another one, I think we should have.
For the reserve
should-
formulas, is that more of reserve policy review?
I think so.
Okay.
I think so. You could put net reserve. Well, I'm sorry, I shouldn't say that. We just had this discussion about whether we have a funds policy overall that deals, or maybe it's a restrictions policy. That's a new one that ought to be on the agenda. I got a big bugaboo in this because I don't like debt as a general measure, but making sure or having a policy around which capital projects require debt financing versus what projects are being reserved for. That's alternative way. Whether we fund these projects through internal funding, that's reserves, or whether we fund them through debt financing, which is external. But I think that's really, really important, and there's a lot of philosophical stuff in there.
And that's separate from the reserve formulas.
Mhm.
Yeah. We also talked a while ago, I pulled out a sheet I put together probably a year ago now, but we talked about running what ifs for the new wastewater treatment project. This structure that we've developed here was designed to facilitate what ifs as well. And whether it's the current model or whether it's what Kim's doing with Waterworth. In either case, I think that should be on the agenda.
Currently, our framework is presuming the
It is.
existing treatment plant.
Goes away. So
Goes
the
away?
existing treatment plant goes away in 7 years, I think is what I put. That our first payment, bulk payment will be next fiscal year, followed by municipal payments for the next 20 years.
So that's
6 years now.
6 years now, for what?
Well, the calendar pages keep rolling off.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Uh,
Yeah. I thought you were talking about the payments, like we went from 20 to 6. I don't think that's good for us.
Well, the one
Definitely not.
that fits with that is, can we keep our rates for the utilities below the rate of inflation for the next 10 years? That might be a challenge, it might not. But rates are what we charge. That's what our customers see. And I would say there's a challenge to see if we can keep it at 2/3 of that.
So that usually implies taking out debt. if we're, increasing our revenues by less than the general increase of product. But we
Don't
do,
presume it. I mean, I'm just saying,
but we do have a substantial amount of money that we can use as a
well, I'm
rate
just
stabilization.
asking a question. If
Yeah.
we can stay below the rate of inflation or significantly below the rate of inflation in our model, and we have the waste treatment plant thing, we have other investments. We have, believe it or not, other places that have dirty water.
Allegedly,
Huh?
allegedly.
Alleged dirty water.
Discolored.
Alleged discolored water. But the rate at which those are addressed fits into this thing.
Hey, Bob, I think the point you're making is, how do we're in a sense a monopoly. And how do we make sure that our rates we're charging are competitive and not just willy-nilly, just rising and rising and rising. So one thing you could say is something as a percentage of inflation. The problem with all that stuff, Kim pointed out one problem. Another problem is when people want to keep their rates down, they defer capital maintenance and things like that because they're expensive. So another way maybe to look at it, and I'm thinking of this real time here, is there industry publications, do we have like a peer group rates or something that I don't even know where our rates line up to like a national average or mid-Atlantic average or municipalities or whatever, but that might be another way to get at whether our rates are reasonable and not rising too fast. But I wouldn't want to push us into so low rates that we're now deferring or not doing capital maintenance projects and things like that. I mean, the problem is there's different ways of getting around that solution or that.
I absolutely agree with that, but I propose those two as test questions. And if you start saying, okay, well, then we're gonna send dirty water to alleged discolored water, and suffer with that to such and such a neighborhood for 7 additional years. I don't know what the right question is, but I propose those two as test questions to flush it out. Pun intended.
Nice pun.
Yeah, that idea. I was gonna say.
And just off the top of my head, our electric and water rates are competitive. Wastewater is high.
With what?
Comparison of peer group.
And I think a lot of those answers we're probably going to get out of the cost of service study that we're doing right now.
Yeah, I think it will
Yeah.
come, but I'm
Yeah.
just asking a question that
You're preparing us for when
I'm
we
curious about.
Yeah, curious.
when we get that report.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, this is great. I
Yeah.
mean,
So the answer's coming soon.
well, the rate study is coming.
We're shooting for October.
Yeah. Well,
Any
you'll have
other-
to hear,
any
you'll
other
have to hear my
Future.
AMI discussion
suggestion?
beforehand.
Okay, a motion to
I make a motion. to
Go away.
close.
Second,
any discussion?
No,
thank you.
thank
All in
you.
favor?
Aye.
Aye.